Okay, let's try this again. Can you see me in my glasses? There we go. I've been having a little trouble with the media. I'm going to get a new computer soon, but until then, I got to. What do I got going on here? Oh, I'm 3% uploaded. I had some trouble on YouTube. Um, First of all, I want to say that I'm not against vaccines. I've been vaccinated 5 times. I'm so pro science. I liked Anthony Fauci. I guess I'm not so much of a civil libertarian as I am kind of a communitarian and kind of a technocrat. I think I'm almost a paternalistic type. I like Otto von Bismarck, and when I visited family, I thought they were socialists, but they're not. European conservatives are different than American conservatives. American conservatives are very anti-government. European conservatives tend to be a little bit pro-tradition, pro-hierarchy, and they see a role for government in keeping societies together. And that's why you get like conservatives like Benjamin Disraeli and Otto von Bismarck creating a welfare state, not because they're pro-socialism, although people call it that, but because they want to keep. They feel it's not just a matter of self-interest. They feel that God has ordained a certain hierarchy and that there's a noblesse oblige. They are responsible for their children, which are the poor, stupid peasant types. And America has a different attitude. It's like you're every man for himself. Our society is based on voluntarism, and any sort of government interference is, be it leftist or right wing, either the old European aristocracy or the Bolshevik nanny state is un-American. I can see how that would be consistent with Americanism, but I think it's hypocritical since we are very racist and we have our own hierarchy in our society, and it's kind of an excuse just to um, ignore social problems and the duties that we owe each other. Okay, that said, I try to be pro rational, pro science, pro community, and pro me. And since I'm a fat old man with diabetes, the vaccines help keep me alive, and the whole mask wearing and everything. Although I think they might have gone a tiny bit too far. For the most part, that was a necessary evil, a necessary infringement to keep society from complete disaster. And I'm for people cooperating and sacrificing a little bit of their civil liberties to keep us all from dying from a mass bubonic plague sort of situation. Okay, 12% uploaded. That's good. 12% is. Oh, God, for Christ's sake! This is awful.
Have you heard yet? The top
Okay.
colleges have gone back to requiring test scores for the upcoming.
That's the thing problem with this phone. You press one button the wrong way and everything. All right, here I go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's me again, the guy with the sunglasses picking his nose. I think there might be something wrong with my air conditioning. I hear air conditioning, but the house is still hot. I've got it set at 70 and it's like 80. It doesn't cool right. So I'm wondering, should I put it down to 60? That it doesn't seem to do any good. But then if I turn it off, then it gets really hot and there's no air even circulating. So I don't know what to do. I can't afford to have it. Oh, there's a number right on it. Yeah, if it gets too bad or the bill's too much, I think I'm just going to have to call. There is a number right on it. So if it gets too bad, maybe I should call that number. That's good. It's a good thing I'm talking to myself or talking to you because now that's it. I've got a phone here. I go take it down to that little thermostat. There's a number on it and I can call. But I'm not ready to because that causes trouble and I'm causing people enough trouble. Now, is that fireworks or is that thunder? It's probably fireworks. God, I've got every time I like garlic is supposed to be good, but I smell terrible. My breath. I mean, well, other people think I smell terrible. I love garlic, and it makes me fart. God Almighty! Any poor person coming into this house would probably kill them. The olive oil and the garlic are good for me, and then the salmon. I think that salmon was a little. I don't know, it was off, or if it was just cured funny because it's like a piece of Swedish. It was a good piece of salmon, but it smelled a little funny. I hope my freezer's working. Yeah, I'm alive. I got problems, but who doesn't? At least I got a roof over my head, right? Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. And it's a thing. YouTube took down one of my videos because it said that I said something against vaccines and masks and I was spreading misinformation. And I want to make it very clear. I like Anthony Fauci. I agreed with him. I aired on the side of I wasn't so much libertarian as I was for community efforts to stop the spread of the pandemic. I probably could have been more cooperative and I was a little stubborn at times, but for the most part I was pro science and not one of these childish people that was screaming that communism and that there was mercury in the vaccines and that they were killing, just all these stupid conspiratorial lies that only a jackass would believe. I can't believe that people spread this stuff. That it was Anthony Fauci and the Chinese decided to kill people, and yet the vaccine, the whole pandemic was a hoax because it really wasn't. I mean, the things people say are just completely fucking retarded. Like our natural immunity system will take care of this. Well, then why doesn't it take care of polio and smallpox and all these other diseases that we've beaten with vaccines? And you don't know because you're uneducated. You probably didn't even pass high school biology, but you know better than some doctor. And also there's anti-Semitism mixed in. Some sort of the Jewish doctors are trying to put I'm just really horrible, idiotic stuff that dumb people. I'm looking at my scalp here. See, I've got diabetes, and now that I'm old, it's like I got these weird things in my skin. What? There, see, that doesn't look good. That was just me. That was just me scratching myself, and it didn't heal right because diabetes. I get these sores, and it's no fun being old. But I like science. Science helps keep me alive, and I just want to make it very clear of my own free will. With a very few minor exceptions, I was for all the health measures. I was for the vaccines. I was some of the mandates. Nobody had to mandate anything with me. I did it 5 times. I was strongly emphasized, but it was free, so I did it, and I'm alive, and it didn't hurt me. That's for sure. You're tired for a day, and then you feel better. What am I? I'm 27. Okay, 27% uploaded. God. I have to emphasize very strongly, I'm not even going to put things up on YouTube anymore because, as I was saying, the road to hell is paved with good intent. You can have the best intentions, but if you don't implement a policy properly, or there's an abuse of we need a police force, but we don't want the police raping women and robbing banks and extorting money and shooting black people. Not to say that the police do, that's a small exception. But what I'm saying is, even a police force that would do those things is better than no police force at all. You want an example? Look at all these cities that defunded the police because the police were so allegedly corrupt. And what happened? The homicide rate doubled. You had gangs, roving wild packs of teenagers just robbing stores, and all the businesses fled. You have to have order. Now, preferably the police force is honest and competent, but even if it isn't, and I can't emphasize strongly enough that they should be. But even if it isn't, it's better than having no police force at all. It really is. But they should be honest. They should be. But this whole defund the police was just a debacle. It was just a complete. It was a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It was like people overreacted. There were some police beating up black people. There are police abusing people's rights. So we'll just cut their budgets. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And I think that would be my message to YouTube, that you definitely took the wrong approach when anytime anybody even mentions the COVID subject, you just ban their video. I didn't say anything critical of the vaccines. I think for the most part, the American vaccines were safe and effective. A lot of the lockdowns and restrictions, in hindsight, maybe we went a little too far. They could have been carried out a little better, but for the most part, I think they were necessary. And considering it was an emergency situation, they were handled well. and it wasn't an attempt to wipe out people. The pandemic was not a hoax. It was a real pandemic. It was really killing people, and it wasn't Anthony Fauci and the Chinese trying to. What's this great replacement theory? I don't know. All these stupid conspiracy theories, and I'll probably get flagged for mentioning them. I'm not for them. I'm against them. I'm against conspiracy theories. I'm pro science, and I hate being censored because somebody took my video to mean the exact opposite of what I said because they weren't listening. And you run a major corporation, you should do that. At least Meta doesn't. I think Meta, as bad as Meta is, it's not as bad as YouTube. YouTube, it's just like you even bring the subject up and they flag you, which is bullshit. It's just absolute freaking bullshit. All right, enough of that. And the thing that really got me mad is I spent a whole day uploading this video about my life, because I wander. And they took that part, they took the whole video down. And most of it was about, what was I talking about? Was it about going to Morocco? Was it about living in the Hams Brewery? Yeah, I can hear the explosions in the background. Oh, I lost that. Like there's a time that I rented a Lincoln Town car and went to Santa Cruz. That was nice, but that was a gas guzzler. And I hit another car because I was listening to the Sex Pistols, never mind the Bullocks. But I think the story I told was about the couple months that I worked for $5.50 an hour at a union job in North York at the Woolworth Woolco warehouse. And I took the TTC to work in 78. Yeah, I can't remember I used to know all the lines, like the 7-8, and, there are a lot of Muni buses. A lot of them were electric way before, they had those little prongs. Years ago, they were kind of ahead of their time. Well, because the diesel buses had a hard time getting up and down those hills. But the Toronto Transit Commission was really an efficient system because it wasn't the United States. And I'd go out to North York and I wouldn't see the sun. I'd go into work at 7, the sun would be not up, and I'd get out at 7 and the sun would be down. I didn't see the sun all winter. And that was my story. Hopefully that's not lost. Everything's lost. It's just like, it's frustrating because I'm not that together, and I just don't have the will to keep repeating these stupid. And they're probably not a story not everybody even cares about. Oh, I remember. Okay, it was in 1986. It was when we went to Morocco, and was that the year of Lockerbie, or there was some kind of terrorist act? Yeah, because I went to Morocco, and that was the year we bombed Gaddafi, and I actually had to get a visa to go to France, my favorite country. And I was showing them the visa, and the French were like, yeah, Mitterrand was pissed at you guys, just go on. It was like all that trouble to get the visa, and they didn't even care. Yeah, that's a story. And I remember in the Netherlands, I had all these pens, and he was looking at the pens, and I go, I have no explanation why I've got 12 pens in my pocket, but you can check them all. They're just pens. I was a nerd, I was just a nerd. And he flagged me through. He smiled. Yeah, the Eurail Pass. I missed that from being a kid in the 80s. That was a good way to get around. And here it is 40 years later, and we're still way behind the Europeans with things like that. I remember being in Milan and some gypsy kid trying to pickpocket me. And everybody kept saying, because most of the Italians were so nice, and they says, you got to understand, those aren't Italian gypsies, so don't say most Italians. The gypsies are Roma, and they are not Spanish. Spanish people were nice. The Roma, again, I'm going to be racist now. This is great. The Roma are not Italian, they're not Spanish, they're from someplace else. And so don't say that it's just a certain element of the Italian population or the Spanish population. I was told, this is it, that they are not part of they are like a foreign element. And I just have to be honest about the Roma. they steal. They're out to pick your pocket. And my experience in Spain was, for the most part, the Spanish were wonderful people, except in the red belt, and then they were rude. Because the red belt, they're communist. But most of the Spanish people were lovely and wonderful. Italy, I had a nice little conversation in Spanish with an Italian barber. He was a great guy. So I ran out of money, so I didn't spend a lot of time in Italy. But my experience in Italy was very civilized people. The really negative experience, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be racist or anything like that. I had a terrible time in Morocco, but that's the third world, and I can understand they'd resent, I don't know what's going on there, but what the hell was an American doing? We just bombed Libya. That was dumb of me I was cherchez la femme. I was chasing these two Canadian girls. That's what I was doing. I was 28. Don't judge me. I still remember her name, Carol Keats. She was a redhead. Yeah, she was nice. And I said something to offend her. I'm an ass. It was something about Shirley MacLaine. But, Shirley MacLaine said something about the Holocaust. And I'm not Jewish, but I was raised Protestant, Church of the Bethany Covenant. But Shirley MacLaine said the Holocaust was justified because they were reincarnated Romans. Something really wackadoodle. And it was like, don't try to, like karma. Like karma is proof, the people died in the Holocaust because they deserved it because of karma. There's some things that don't fit into that, as you sow, so shall you reap. Some things are just, little kids had medical experiments performed on them by the Nazis, and somehow they had it coming. I don't think so. It's like those little kids in Gaza. All right, Hamas is a terrible organization. That you're not going to get an argument with me. But how can you say, well, those people in Gaza deserve it because they support Hamas? Little kids, really, 3-4 years old, just learning to talk. Mommy. They're clutching their little teddy bears while the IDF is blowing them up. And I know they're always talking about the rapes Hamas committed. But the IDF does everything that Hamas is accused of. The IDF has been doing for years, and I just have to. I know that'll be flagged as misinformation, but that is absolutely true. The IDF are not nice people, and they're just like us. Like the Vietnam War, the American soldiers did terrible things at My Lai, and nobody's watching what the IDF is up to, and we support that. And you say something like that, and all of a sudden you're anti-Semitic, but it's a fact. It's a fact they do those things, and it's just so sneaky because there's so much control over our media by a certain element of our society. And again, that's true also. AIPAC. And let's try to remember something. It's not just Jews that are Zionists. There are a lot of evangelical Christians, Protestants. They're the ones that started all this Zionist bullshit. Zionism wasn't, the religious Jews were never... God forbid them a state. They were put into exile, and they were waiting for the Messiah. That's what the religious Jews said, which is cool. Wasn't their idea to create Israel. Israel was created by labor Zionists, was created by secular Jews who wanted not to be a religion because they were atheists, but they wanted to be an ethnic group. And Judaism is a religion. It's not an ethnic group. They're black Jews. There are Jews with blonde hair and blue eyes. It's a religion. And, I mean, the Catholics have Vatican City, which is a couple blocks. That's Vatican City. A lot of them were Marxists. Some of them were fascist. They were all secular. Religious Jews got conned into it first. But even before the Marxists and the National Socialists, the secular Jews got this idea to go back to Israel. You know who gave them the idea? And this is it. So I'm not accused of being anti-Semitic. The whole freaking crazy idea of going back to Israel was evangelical Protestants in England. It was the whole thing was from 15th, 16th century Protestants. What was it called? Revelations. The apocalypse. And the millennials, not those millennials, but like the end of the world is coming, Jesus is coming back, so we got to help the Jews go back to Israel so we can kill everybody who's not a good Christian. I mean, there's crazy stuff that these Protestants believe, and it's very heretical. It's not really traditional Christianity or the traditional interpretation of the book of Revelations. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not like God's doing it. It's like we're God, you know. And so that's not good. So I'd say the majority of Zionists aren't Jews. They're evangelical Protestant Americans. The Jews wouldn't have really all the influence they have if they didn't have this. And you, dear Jews who are listening to this, Jewish people know this as someone who was raised Protestant, liberal Protestant, but don't trust us. You know, it's like you think, oh, they're our friends. We can use them. They're suckers. Yeah. Yeah, you got a wolf at your door there. Their intent isn't, oh, we got to help the Jews no matter what they say. These people want to herd you into Israel so that they can wipe you out when Jesus comes back, okay? So you keep an eye on those evangelical Protestants, okay? Because they're not the suckers you think they are. They're playing you. You think you're playing them, they're playing you, okay? Keep an eye on them, because I'm telling you, they're just like everybody else. They're going to turn on you. You think they're your friends, they're going to turn on you, just like everybody else did. As far as the state of Israel goes, I think it would be nice if everybody could just get along and not kill each other. How you do that, I don't know. Maybe we got to wait for Jesus to come back. I don't know. But the thing, I watched this guy named Jacob Shapiro. A lot of Orthodox Jews still simply say that the state of Israel is a bit of a heresy, and it's a secular endeavor. It's got something to do with nationalism. It's not really something that is inherent to the Jewish religion. And people confuse that. They say, blame the Jews, blame the religious Jews were kind of talked into it by religious Protestants who talked secular atheist Jews into it. I know you don't think that's true, but that's another thing. It's blame the Protestants. And as a liberal Protestant, I got to say, you know, it's like I'm not one of these evangelicals. But these people are nuts. They want to bring on the apocalypse so that everybody can be wiped out and God can pass judgment on everybody. It's very apocalyptic what these Protestants are after, and so they're kind of the villains of all this because they're the ones with the power and the money and the influence to control American military. There are so many people of the Jewish faith who are so critical of the state of Israel and shipping those weapons. And although there are definitely Jewish Zionists now that are very pro-Israel, but the big influence, let's just say it, the big influence. None of these Jewish lobbies would have any strength if they didn't have all these crazy Protestants behind them. And everybody thinks they're conning everybody else, you know. But I'm just telling you, you got to. A lot of Jews realize this now. It's like you cannot trust the Protestants. They've got this crazy idea in their head that they're accelerating the second coming of Jesus, so that Jesus can pass judgment on everybody and just kill everyone. God's going to do what God's going to do, but I mean, I don't know. It's just the whole idea of armed people going and killing any unarmed innocent people anywhere, you know, dropping bombs on little kids. It breaks my heart to see any of that. And starvation, maybe I shouldn't have, maybe I should just shut up. I'm just gonna tell you that I don't like that. And I'm gonna make it very clear that the last thing I'm gonna do is go out and give Hamas money. That would be the last thing I'm not sympathetic to Hamas. I used to be very, the Belfast Agreement. I used to be actively and openly supportive of the Irish Republican Army, but they were Catholic, all right? They were Catholic. My mother's maiden name is Sands. That's the name I use a lot because Sands sounds a lot less ethnic than any of the other names I got. There is no Islamic extremist group that I support in any way. I'm totally against that. The Irish Republican Army was more of a secular organization. It wasn't trying to promote a religion. Ireland was invaded by the Anglo-Normans in like 1165. It wasn't really even the British that invaded, and the Pope gave his blessing. The whole Protestant Reformation thing came hundreds of years later. Ireland's very complicated, and all the Irish want is their little island back. They're not like the Islamic Sharia, fundamentalists who want the whole world. All the Irish ever really wanted was their little green island, and that's all they wanted. And they just have home of your own, and that's perfectly reasonable. It's a good thing that nobody's planting bombs anymore. But the Irish just were the British committed genocide against the Irish for 700 years, and to call the Irish terrorists is just wrong. It was the British that were terrorists, and I think the same thing is true of the Israelis. They're the ones with all the guns and the bombs, and to call the Muslims the only terrorists is just wrong. But I just going to admit, whether rightly or wrongly, I was very openly sympathetic to the Irish Republican Army and Sinn Féin, and still am. I'm not for violence, but when the violence was going on, I would kind of defend it or rationalize it. I wasn't like, no comment. I'm not gonna slit my own throat by talking about that. But I just did. But I want to make it clear that in no way do I support Hamas or Hezbollah or any of these wackadoodles that are killing people. What I am is pro-peace. I just want people to stop killing each other. Maybe that's unrealistic, but killing kids, dropping bombs on little children and blowing them to bits, running into hospitals and killing doctors is not self-defense, guys, okay? And nobody's falling for that. I mean, well, maybe. And the reason the evangelical Christians fall for that is because they don't care. They say they're Christians and they're not. No Christian wants to kill somebody because they have a different religion. So evangelical Christians really aren't. There are a lot. It's like these Christian nationalists. They're like the German National Socialists. Nothing to do with socialism. Although a lot of people called themselves socialists who did really horrible things. Just like there are a lot of people that call themselves Christian that did really horrible things. Really horrible things. The road to hell is paved with good intention. I was in Ireland once. It was in 2006 and 7 for St. Patrick's Day, and when that'll be it. Jerry Adams once said, "The best revenge is living well," and the part of Ireland that's under the control of the Irish is pretty prosperous. Now, it's not ideal because it's kind of a tax haven. And it's just a place for American corporations to store their money. And that doesn't necessarily help the Irish. The standard of living in Ireland, the average wage of someone in the Netherlands is about, I think it's €40,000 a year, €43,000 a year, €43,000 a year in the Netherlands. Average pay in Ireland is $42,000, very similar. And I think in Great Britain, it's about 39 or 40. It's somewhat lower. Now, the GDP per capita of Ireland is like three freaking times that of Great Britain. Now, does that mean the standard of living in Great Britain is 1/3 of Ireland? No, it's very similar. Maybe in some cases the British are a little better off. Ireland's not a poor country anymore, but it's not super rich. That's all money that's sitting in a bank. Like the Cayman Islands. Do you think people in the Cayman Islands are rich? No. It looks rich on paper because a bank, there's no tax there in the Cayman Islands, and that's where very rich people store their loot. And nobody benefits that but the rich people. Now, Ireland did benefit. It's like the Netherlands. The Netherlands is a tax haven too. They had some kind of agreement, the Dutch. Irony when you look at the history of like the Battle of the Boyne and the Anglo-Dutch War. We did sink the English fleet at the raid on Medway. You can't trust those Dutch, really. You want to know how the Dutch beat the British, and this is just true as someone who's got a lot of Dutch heritage. The Anglo-Dutch War had been settled. They'd signed a treaty, and they said, it's over. Sure, we'll be friends with you British now. And the ink wasn't even dry on this document, and they floated their fleet up the Thames to the Medway, and they completely sank the British fleet. Dirty, underhanded Dutch people. You can't trust them. And Dutch courage, they're the ones that gave the British gin. It was so they'd all get drunk. Genever. It's called Genever, and gin is something that the British got from the Dutch. You're welcome. So there are two things I can't stand in this world: people that are intolerant of other people's cultures. What's it? There are two things I can't stand in this world: people that are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch. That's from Goldmember, by the way. Michael Caine said that. I love gold. Yeah, and Michael Myers was Doctor Evil, Goldmember, and Austin Powers. That was a funny series. Yeah, look that up. But that was the only, I think that was the only Dutch villain, Goldmember. Two things I can't stand in this world: people that are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch. The English don't like the Irish, but they don't like the Dutch either. They think it's a made up language and the cheese. The English are probably the most bigoted people in the world, really, when it comes right down to it. But they definitely they don't like the Dutch either. They don't like the Dutch. They don't like the Irish. They don't like, and they certainly don't like the French. They don't even consider the French to be white, whatever a wog is. So I hope I don't get banned for saying bigoted things, but I'm not making a judgment on these statements. I'm just saying that these are things people say. But Jerry Adams said that the best revenge is living well. During the Troubles went on for 30 years, and now Ireland is not a backwards nation anymore. It's very prosperous. It's not perfect. They got problems. They got a housing problem, and it's basically a tax haven for American corporations. But you take the good with the bad. When I was there, I went to Temple Bar, and I probably have videos around someplace, but they're lost because my computer just died. And I guess you're just gonna have to listen to my stupid stories because did I take videos of that? And I don't even know what happened to them. I don't even know what happened to them. They're just lost to time. But I guess this is just I'll upload this, and hopefully I didn't say anything that anybody found hostile or wrong. But I like Anthony Fauci. I did all my vaccinations. I wore the masks. I don't know why YouTube's saying that I'm spreading misinformation, unless they've all of a sudden decided that vaccines are a hoax. Because I don't. Well, I can say one thing. I was vaccinated 5 times and I'm still alive. I wore the mask. I managed to survive that. They certainly didn't kill me, and I think they were necessary to keep people alive. And I think people were childish and irrational. There were no really well-educated people that were opposed to that. And you just had politicians pandering to morons. So that's enough.